Hello everyone. This is Bonnie. I am back for day 13 of Bonico Bingo. And happy Sunday everyone. I hope a lot of you have, hi Hannah. I hope a lot of you have tomorrow off. Oh, hi Karen. We do. I just got back not too long ago from running a bunch of errands and wolfed down my, hi Oksana. Wolfed down my dinner and I'm like, oh my God, I have like half an hour. What's up, friend? I don't know, my heart's still racing just from running around nonstop all day, but I am ready to pick a stitch today and see what we get. So, it was kind of funny because my niece is on Instagram too. Hi, Oksana. And she saw the other video, and I guess at the beginning of the video, I was waiting for people to hop on, and I was going, do, anybody there? And apparently she thought that was very funny, so she screen recorded it and sent it to my daughter, her cousin, and they had a big laugh over it. So, I don't know. I guess we do and say silly things when we're live and sort of like by ourselves, but not really, because I can see you guys there, but I don't actually see your faces. But anyway, let's get right into today's stitch and see what I pulled today. All right, let's see. The wheat stitch, not to be confused with the wheat eater stitch, which apparently there is no such stitch, but I always thought it was wheat eater for some reason. Let me get that. Let's find the notes for the wheat stitch, or it's also called sheaf stitch or sheaf filling. So let's turn this camera around and get everything into place. Yeah, right? I'm like, it's the wheat eater. Nope, it is not the wheat eater. It is the wheat stitch or the sheaf filling stitch. Hey, Melissa, just in time to see what I pulled. It is the wheat or sheaf stitch. So, as I said, it is not to be confused with the wheat ear or the wheat eater, which does not exist, but I made that up. So I just have to clarify that. Do not Google wheat eater stitch and try to find some embroidery stitch called that, because I don't believe it exists. Let's talk about a few design tips for the wheat stitch or sheaf stitch. Okay, so this is in Hannah's right here. It kind of looks like, well, I can see why it might be called wheat when it's upright like this, because it kind of looks like a bundle of wheat. But you could also maybe think of it as a bow tie. I don't know if there's already something called a bow tie stitch, but we've sort of been in the practice of making up stitch names during this Bonico Bingo. So maybe we can call it the bow tie stitch if you want to turn it on its side like this. But as far as the stitch goes inside on your bingo board, if you're in a spot like this where it got a lot of colors, then feel free to just mix the colors up, fit them within the space of each color shape. If you want to try crossing them, you could, but that, like we did with the ribbed spider the other day. But you don't have to. You can play around with it. You could also maybe try tying it off with like a contrast color. So just have fun with it. It can be worked in rows or staggered together for a closer or tighter fill effect, basically. All right. Here it is on this sample, a little more filled in. And as I said, you can see the varied sizes and how they're a little bit more close together and stacked, like packed tightly together to act as a little more of a solid color fill. Okay. Basically what they are 3 parallel stitches that are tied at the center. And there's a few different ways that you can handle that. So if you were to draw guides, you would probably just make 3 dots like this and have them be 3 parallel lines. And then in the center is where you're going to tie them off. Okay, so I'm going to do that as a little guide. And let me see where okay, mine is mine is over here. So it's going to be in a yellow, purple, and green section. So let me do the demo in pink. And you can use, I'm probably going to use 3 strands today, but you can use however many you want. Just keep in mind, the thicker it is, the kind of heavier looking the stitch is going to be. So if you want to look that is a little more delicate or finer, then you can use less strands. So traditionally it would start, I believe, in the center and then work its way out on either side to make 3 parallel stitches. Okay. And you can use the poke and pull, or you can sew on top, whatever is easier for you. Okay. So you make 3 parallel stitches like so. And then what you do, and I like to kind of pull this over a little bit. Then what you do is you come in the center, and I'm going to come in just to the right of that center stitch, okay? And so it's helpful if your tension is not super, super tight, especially for the 2 side stitches, because they're going to need to get cinched in. So it's almost like giving them a belt, okay? I'm going to come in just to the right of that center stitch. So I push that center stitch a little off to the left, come up with the needle, and then I'm going to go underneath, and I just use the eye end, so I'm careful not to split any of the other straight stitches. And I'm going to go under the 2 here, and then I'm going to wrap around and go under all 3. One more time. And then you see it's like a little belt, ties all those stitches together, and then you go back down on this side here, okay? Okay, so this way, if you wrap it like that, you would get, hi Courtney, today I pulled the wheat stitch, or it's also called sheaf filling stitch, so you might be familiar with it by that name, okay? So the number of wraps will determine how thick that little center gathering stitches, that tacking stitch. Now there's another way you could do it. You can also skip the wrapping part, and you can just make like a straight stitch over it without wrapping it so many times. So let's just try that, and I'll show you how that one works. So in that case, I would come over from the left of that center stitch. Oh, it's another new one for you, Courtney. Oh, good. Oh, ribbed spider with variegated floss. That must look awesome. I'm glad you're having fun with it. And I'm glad you're learning new stitches too. That's exciting. Okay, so the other way is you can just do 1 tacking stitch. It doesn't have to be like so many wraps around. So I've come up just to the left of that center stitch and woven underneath the left stitch, and now I'm going to go under the one on the right and back down to the back, okay? And that can also cinch it in, and that is a little bit more of a delicate look. It's not as full. You don't have as many wraps around it. So you can play around with it. As I said, you could use a contrast color to wrap that around if you'd like. I don't think I've tried doing like the tacking stitch first and then the 2 verticals, but I guess you could do that too. You do it with the tacking stitch first, Hannah, or you do the second version of what I did? So let's try that. I'm going to try this and see if this works too. I'm going to make 1 little tacking stitch in the center and then do a vertical, and then come on either side and make another one. So I suppose there's a few ways. They all kind of look the same. The second version of the wrapping. Okay. So I think I would safely say you could accomplish this look, the look of this stitch 3 different ways. One is the more traditional with the multiple wraps. The other is just doing the 3 straight stitches and coming around and doing one tacking stitch to sort of cinch them all together. And then the third is to start with the tacking stitch and then weave the 3 other vertical stitches underneath it. And they all kind of look the same. So whatever version, whatever technique or method works best for you, then you go ahead and do that. And I'm going to say it pretty much doesn't matter if you're doing it exactly the way the traditional one is. Okay? So let's move over to the bingo board. And as I said, I'm in a multicolored spot, so that's kind of fun. And I think I might actually do a bit of contrast stitching and use the purple in the center for the yellow and then do the yellow for the verticals on that. So let's do one that's all purple here and then a smaller one here that's going to be contrast, and just to show you what that might look like. Have we gotten bingo yet? I don't think so. I don't believe we have. No bingo for us. Oh well, we don't win the car, Hannah. Okay, so I'm gonna use, let's use 6 strands for this one. Let's see how that looks. Okay, so I'm gonna make first a center tacking stitch on this yellow bunch here. And then what I think I'm gonna do. Oh, you broke your border. Oh, you had to move into the middle somewhere. Courtney broke her border stitch or her border streak. Okay, and then this one I'm gonna do the traditional way. So I just did the tacking stitch to get ready for the yellow later. And then on this side I'm gonna do the traditional way. So yeah, you can line them up. Another non-border stitch for Oksana too. Oh boy. I don't know. I'll have to see what happens. There's actually a lot. I mean, you have to get a lot of them to get that whole border. I've never played bingo like this, but Hannah is the bingo expert. So apparently it's called postage stamp bingo. Is that right, Hannah? Postage stamp bingo? Okay, so now I'm going to come up and I'll do this one the traditional way. I don't like this one as much, the way that this one works, because I always feel like I'm going to split the threads, which I kind of am. I'm going to turn it and pull it out of the way with my nail. Okay. All right, there. See? Now it came up. And then I'm going to go around. Oh, wait a minute. I got to go under this way. Under, and then around. Okay. And then I'll go back to the back. Okay, like that. Pizza bingo, they call it the postage stamp. Yes. All right, so that is the wheat or sheaf stitch in the purple there. Or like I said, we can call it the bow tie stitch if we want. Or I think Hannah and I were joking around one day and we said it could be the farfalle stitch too. We must have had pasta on our minds. My family is kind of on a low-carb diet, so I have pasta on my mind because it's something we have not been able to eat as much of as we would have liked. Okay, so now let's, let me come in with the yellow, and this one I'll do 3 strands because it's kind of a slightly smaller one. Okay, so I have that purple tacking stitch this time, and now I'm going to make 3 straight stitches weaving through there. Yes, let's call it the cat whisker stitch. Sure, we can call it whatever we want. Okay, this, I'm gonna go under. So just make sure if you do the tacking stitch first, it's big enough that the eye end, or at least, let me see, I might have to use the pointy end actually. Get underneath that little, I think I pulled it too tight. There we go. There we go. All right, and then down to the back. Okay. All right. And now I'm gonna go on do the left side. Let me try to weave it underneath without splitting anything. And back down to the back. And then one more on the right side. Pulled the cut end of the knot on the purple through. There we go. Then under, one more time. And then to the right, down to the back. So, 2 ways to do it. So again, you can make them all match, like here, purple and purple, or you can add a little contrast for the tacking, or do the reverse. You could do the purple and then the yellow, whatever you feel like. Have fun with it. Stack them, put them in rows, put them side by side. Hi Liz, thanks for coming. I'm actually just wrapping up the demo today, but we pulled the wheat stitch, or also known as the sheaf filling stitch. So I hope you have fun doing that one, and I will be back tomorrow at I think it might be 2. Maybe 2. Check the calendar, guys. I'm pretty sure it's 2, but I could be wrong because my days are all messed up with this extended weekend. So anyway, thank you so much for joining me tonight, and I'm going to say good night to y'all. All right. Thanks. Bye.